So, you've learnt the pentatonic scale and you're blissfully noodling away, probably over some bluesy-based backing track or something like that. And then someone says to you something along the lines of, "Yeah, that's nice, but do you know any actual songs?" I know, bloody cheek, but there is an important point there, and that's that most people do actually want to hear songs, and in our quest to be very free and expressive with the guitar, we can sometimes lose sight of that. Now, the pentatonic scale will obviously put you in a position where you can learn all sorts of pre-existing riffs. But what if we try and take that idea of being free and expressive and try and apply it to something a little bit more structured? So I've got here a few tips for you for writing your own riff with the pentatonic scale. I've done this in 3 parts because that felt like a very YouTube thing to do. I've also upped my game here, and I'm going to present each of these 3 parts via some very advanced graphics and fantastic video editing. Point 1. Structure. There we go. Right, so structure. There's a couple of elements to this. Firstly, we want our riff to be in a particular key. That's probably not particularly surprising or controversial thing to say. We could go for the old guitarist's favourites of E minor or A minor, but I'm going to go for one of my other favourite keys, and yes, I am enough of a train spotter to have favourite keys, and that's F sharp minor. So that scale there is going to be the basis of my riff. The other thing we want to pay attention to when we're thinking about structure is how long the riff is going to be. I think an obvious one to go for is 2 bars length. If you think of a lot of the big hitters riff-wise, Sunshine of Your Love, Smells Like Teen Spirit, Paranoid, Day Tripper, they're all based on repeated 2-bar phrases. So I have here a 2-bar drum loop set up. Where we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And apologies if that was patronising to those of you who already know how to count to 4. So we've got our repeated loop that's 2 bars long, and first of all I'm just going to give it a little bit of a shape by playing the F sharp root note at the start of each bar, and I'm going to do this with the octave pedal to pretend I'm playing a bass line. So let's see. Okay, so we're underway, and that brings us to point 2. Point 2, tension and release. Now, what we've got so far, we might get away with calling that a riff, but I think we're running quite a serious risk of our audience falling asleep if we don't do something else with it. So let's just ponder what may be a really, really obvious question. Why is a riff with only 1 note in it potentially quite boring? Well, at least one reason is that there is no tension anywhere at all in that. When you're listening to a bit of music, you're either going to be listening to it at a place of stability or a place of tension. And when you're at the point of tension, your ear naturally wants it to resolve to the point at which it's identified as stability, which is going to be the root note of any given key, this case F sharp. And if all we've got is that F sharp root note, there's no tension, so there's no real point of interest. So to introduce some tension, we need some notes that are not the root note. The beauty of the pentatonic scale is that it's so simple. You've only got 5 different notes, and provided you stay within those 5 notes, it's quite difficult to sound bad in most contexts, because there isn't a lot of dissonance or much tension there particularly, but the note that's a perfect fifth away from the root, which in this case is C sharp, notice when we're there, the ear is starting to wait for it to resolve back to the root note. So for my first phrase in the riff, I'm going to lean quite heavily on that C sharp to get a little bit of tension going. I'm going to play this. So notice I'm finishing on that C sharp to kind of heighten expectations for the return to the F sharp. Point 3. Repeat with variation. So we have one bar of material, so we're doing all right, just one bar to go, which brings us to point 3, repeat with variation. Little bit of a balancing act, this one. If we were to depart completely rhythmically and melodically from what we did in the first bar, i.e. have all variation, I think we'd very quickly find ourselves in the realm of aimless noodling again, and we'd lose any kind of sense of structure or catchiness that the riff might have. But by the same token, if I repeat exactly what I did in that first bar, I think that's going to quite quickly sound a bit monotonous, actually. So we want a little bit of variation within basically the same thing. So what I'm going to do is just make it a little bit less busy at the end, like this. Just not pick that last note quite so many times. So our full 2-bar riff would then go like this. Yeah, not bad. We'll try that with the track. Yeah, we've got something reasonably serviceable there. So there we have it, 3 steps towards writing a riff with the pentatonic scale. I really hope that's been of some interest to you and maybe even inspired you to try something out yourself. As ever, if you've enjoyed this, I'd really appreciate any liking and subscribing you would care to do. And please feel free to put any other requests for any future topics in the comments. Thanks ever so much for watching. Take care. See you again soon. Cue aimless noodling.